Some of the most terrifying stories are the ones that are true, the ones that could happen to any of us. Tonight, I have a few such stories for you, pulled from the experiences of real people. So turn down the lights, get comfortable, and let's dive into the chilling reality that's often scarier than fiction. Our first story comes from a user named Clara, who is a college student living alone for the first time. Her apartment was on the ground floor of an old, slightly run-down building. One night, while studying late, she heard a faint scratching sound coming from her window. At first, she dismissed it as a tree branch, but the sound became more persistent, more rhythmic. It sounded like fingernails dragging slowly across the glass. Her heart started pounding. She crept over to the window, her hand shaking as she reached for the blinds. Peeking through a tiny slit, she saw nothing but the dark, empty street. Relieved, she let the blind fall back into place. But then, the scratching started again, this time on her front door. It was slow, deliberate, scrape, scrape. Clara froze, her blood running cold. She didn't have a peephole. The scratching stopped, and a piece of paper slid under her door. Trembling, she picked it up. On it were just 3 words, scrawled in messy handwriting. "I can see you." She never found out who it was. She broke her lease and moved out the very next day. This next experience happened to a long-haul truck driver named Mark. He often drove through the desolate stretches of the American Midwest late at night. One particular night, he was on a lonely 2-lane highway, miles from the nearest town. His radio was just static. Suddenly, his headlights caught a figure standing on the side of the road. It was a woman in a simple, old-fashioned white dress. Her back was to him. As he got closer, he slowed down, thinking maybe she needed help. But as his truck drew level with her, she slowly turned her head. Mark said his stomach dropped. Her face was completely blank. Just smooth, pale skin. He slammed on the accelerator, his truck roaring past the figure. He glanced in his rearview mirror, and she was gone. He drove for another hour, his hands gripping the wheel, until he finally reached a brightly lit truck stop. He never took that route again. He swears to this day that what he saw wasn't human. Our final story is about a young couple, Ben and Sarah, who bought a charming old house in the countryside. They were excited to fix it up. The house had a small, locked room in the attic that the real estate agent said was for storage, and they did have the key. A few weeks after moving in, Ben decided to pry the door open. Inside, the room was empty, except for a single, child-sized, rocking chair in the center. The walls were covered in what looked like children's drawings, but they were disturbing. Stick figures in panicked poses, dark shapes looming over them. That night, they were woken up by a gentle creaking sound from upstairs. Creak, creak, creak. It was coming from the attic, from the locked room. They huddled together, listening as the rocking continued for almost an hour before stopping. They tried to ignore it, telling themselves it was just the old house settling, but it happened every night, always starting around 3 a.m. The final straw was when Sarah went up to the attic during the day and found the rocking chair had moved. It wasn't in the center of the room anymore. It was facing the corner, as if a child had been put in timeout. They sold the house at a loss, never explaining the real reason to the new owners. The world is full of unexplained events and unsettling encounters. These stories remind us that sometimes the most frightening monsters are the ones we can't see or understand. What you've just heard are only a few fragments of a much larger, darker picture. Thank you for listening. If you have your own chilling true story, share it in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more tales from the shadows. Stay safe out there.